I know we already have the intro music. Yeah. You guys are getting echo intro music. Or I could do like what's the guy's name in UFC?
Oh God, I don't know his name.
Time! Bruce Buffer! That's right.
I don't know. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I believe you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Only a few days ago, like maybe 2-3 days ago, my roommates and I actually just sat down to watch the headline fight from a few days ago, because one of my roommates is super into UFC, and I hadn't really watched that much of it, but like I knew that announcer, and we started watching, and the first one that we watched was actually from when they were out at the Fight Island. Because I think they are returning to Las Vegas soon, but I don't think they're there yet. Anyway, he wasn't there. It was a different announcer because he didn't want to go do Fight Island. And so I was just like, what?
Oh,
but then we watched the older ones where, like, because I hadn't seen hardly any of them. My other roommate had seen very few, and so my very into UFC roommate was really excited about it, and he wanted to show us a few fights. And so he was showing us ones when they had been, like, before they went to Fight Island. And so Bruce Buffer was there, and I was like, there we go. That's the thing I wanted. That's what I wanted right there.
There you go. Well, because you can't go. I mean, if you went to a UFC fight and you didn't hear the veteran voice of the octagon, Bruce Buffer, like, did you really go to a UFC fight?
Well, and that's the thing. No one went to the fights on Fight Island. And so there you go. They could just do that because no one will ever question whether you went to a fight on Fight Island. Because if you say you went to a fight on Fight Island, you're a liar.
You are a liar, and your pants are on fire.
Or you're a fighter, and we all know you were there.
Exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know why you're here, and it's not UFC. I can tell you that right now. Maybe you're here for some good.
Oh, there are some UFC matches.
UFC tangent content.
There you go.
And that's fine. That's fantastic. But that's not why you're here. You're here because this is the Black Tower Podcast. And we are your Mahales. I am Josh, your Sorovan Mahale.
And I am Daniel, your Aman Khan Mahale.
And Andrew, or Baijan Mahale, is currently leading the forces of the Black Tower against the filthy Shanchan. Seriously, the Shanchan can, like, fuck right off a cliff. I hate them. If you guys didn't know, I hate the Shanchan.
He does. The most.
There's only one other person in the series that I rank with them, and that's Cad Swain.
Oh, okay.
I hate Cad Swain too. I like Gawain more.
I hate Cad Swain.
I hate Cad Swain because she's all like, I'm here to teach you manners, but she's there to teach civility in the most uncivil way possible.
No,
she's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you until you... That's like parents that are like, their kids are like arguing, and then one kid hits another kid, and then the parent comes up and smacks their kid and goes, don't hit. Like, What the hell? That's Cad Swain. One of the most annoying people on the planet.
Yeah, no, and I will admit that, again, I don't... The good that Cad Swain does, I think, because she does do some good. And she does do some good, not necessarily with Rand, which is one of the reasons that I absolutely agree and dislike her a lot. Yes. But there is I appreciate her for her or for the fact that she does do those good things.
What good things did she do, Daniel? What did she do?
So I think the maneuvering that she does behind Rand is not nice. I'm not saying it's the kind way to do it. I'm definitely saying it's manipulative. I'm definitely saying that I think that there were better ways to do it. But she does actually do quite a number of really good things, sort of behind Rand's back, with the people around him. And of course, it is hard to argue that she doesn't teach Rand and the Ashaman what Min said that she would teach Rand and the Ashaman.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And so those are the good things that she does. Now, again, am I happy with the way that she did those things? No. Am I happy with, the result of them? Of course. Which is why I would probably rank them at Shanchan, Tylin, Gawain, Cadswain.
Uh, I could see
Because
that.
I like the fact that Cadswain is, or not, I like it. I understand the fact that Cadswain is much older. And so
But
I give her a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit. And again, this is a little bit of forgiveness because I think that her and Gawain are very, very similar in terms of the fact that their biggest issue is the fact that they don't listen. Cadswain just thinks that she knows literally everything and that no one can teach her anything.
well,
Gawain is kind of just thrust into the spotlight and is like, I don't have time to learn everything. And that I appreciate more than the no, I'm not going to learn anything from you because I already know everything. It's like, no, you don't, bitch. And so that's
well,
again why I think that the two of them are basically have the same problem to me. But Gawain, I forgive a little bit more.
Ga-
But at the same time, I'm so much more frustrated with because I understand Cadswain's origin for that rather than Gawain's. Gawain's doesn't make as much sense to me, if that makes sense.
I agree. You know what? I just had this thought before we continue on. You should probably tell people that we're going to spoil them.
Yeah, no, you probably should. Though I did do a really good job of not actually saying anything specific.
You did. I will say that that was very Aes Sedai of you.
Yeah, right.
Please don't take that as an
However,
insult, though.
oh, I don't ever take that. I'm bonded to an Aes Sedai. She's one of my best people.
Oh,
No, but anyway, so before we actually get into that stuff, welcome everyone. You're gonna be spoiled. This is this is definitely an episode that is going to talk about stuff that's very late in the game. Now, granted, the topic that we're talking about today is definitely a little bit more overarching and thematic. But we're probably going to give examples of things that are going to be in the last four books. Because of the nature of our topic, we are going to be talking a lot about the last four books. So if you have not yet read all the way through A Memory of Light, you are definitely at risk of being spoiled. As I said, we're not going to be talking about a ton of specific events because this is thematic, but it's going to get in there. And so if you have not read all the way through A Memory of Light, please be aware of what you're getting yourself into.
it's true. And again, this is going to be heavy on the end of the series, specifically because the actual topic is the variations in writing styles between Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson.
Yep.
I know that there have been numerous peeps that have criticized Brandon Sanderson, and basically they criticize him because he's not Robert Jordan. Let's be honest. Like that's the criticism. That is the only criticism that people can do, because I think the last three books were amazing. I thought they did a really great. They were really great to read, and I felt they were. Though I did pick up. Though I did pick up Brandon Sanderson's particular spice, particular flavor. Um, I did feel like Sanderson did an amazing job of staying true to the universe of the Wheel of Time, and it still felt very Wheel of Time to me. Does that make
I
sense?
I agree. I think that Brandon Sanderson, in my humble opinion, could be a great art forger, if you will, in terms of the fact that he does have his own distinct style. I mean, I've read the Mistborn series and whatnot, and so I know that that is something that he wrote just by himself. He didn't take it from anybody else. Nobody else ran with it. You know, all of that different stuff. But at the same time, um, I think that the way that he was so able to seamlessly slip into Robert Jordan's writing style is a testament to his abilities.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, and I know, and this subject is actually kind of fresh on my mind because I know one of the things that people say is they say that the characters are different. They don't like the different ways that the characters behave toward it during the Brandon Sanderson books versus the way they behave previous to that. And I can see that to a point, and I'll use Matt as an example. Up until this point, Matt's just been kind of roaming around doing his thing, not really paying attention to a lot. Now, of course, during Robert Jordan's arc, we've got, Matt escaping with Val and Lucas Circus, and the whole interaction with Tylan, and the whole thing with kidnapping Tuon, blah 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 blah. And this whole time, Matt is running away. He's like, "Oh my god, seriously, leave me alone. I kept my word that I would protect Elaine, and now she's back. I just want to go away, and I just want to get into a tavern with a mug of ale, a game of dice, and a barmaid to dandle on my knee."
Dandle.
Dandle. Oh yeah, I wish to dandle. But after,
Is that Matt's new canon accent?
I think it, if it wasn't, it fucking is now.
Right? Oh yeah, let's make angry the lady who shoots fireballs.
and and that's the thing, is after when the Gathering Storm picks up, and we find Matt again. Matt has changed his mind, and he even actually says this during one interaction. He says, "I've been running from it, I've been ducking it, and I am sick of being swept up in the pattern, and now I'm taking control of it. I am done running from it, and I know I need to do something about this."
Yep.
And it is a big turning point in his story, and I feel like if Robert Jordan had wrote that, it would have been the same, but it's different because his change in direction and the change in author happen at the same time.
Yes.
Does that make
Yes.
sense? I mean, you get a lot of that, and it's understandable because the Gathering Storm is the beginning of the end. I mean, they said that the Gathering Storm was supposed to be one book. Well, A Memory of Light was supposed to be one book, and Brandon Sanderson was like, "There is a lot here. I don't know that I can write this in one book."
Yes.
And Harriet and crew agreed and said, "All right, let's do this." And they kind of drew it out a little bit, but first off, I think it was satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a great job with telling the stories that he did. We got Hinderstop, which we discussed last week, and as
Mm-hmm.
we learned from that interaction, that was all Brandon Sanderson.
Yes.
That was Harriet looked at him and said, "Look, it's the end of the world. Things are supposed to be getting bad, very bad. I need you to make it darker. I need you to make it scarier." And so he wrote Hinderstap as, okay, this is something that is supremely terrifying that happened, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great addition to the story, a great sort of fear addition to the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and I actually agree with that in terms of um the I really do think that Brandon tapped into sort of the spirit of Robert Jordan. Obviously, he had his notes. Obviously, he had Harriet to help him understand. Obviously, he had uh, the publishing company and whatnot, and the agents and whatnot who had read the work and edited the work and done all of this work with Robert to make sure that he had a good understanding of what it was that he was taking over. That
Yeah,
being said, you know, there while they absolutely handed him all of these notes and whatnot and said, "Hey, make a book," and he looked at it and said, "I can't make this a book," and they were like, "All right, cool. So we'll have you make a few." I do think that again, it's a Silmarillion problem, if you will, in terms of the fact that even with all the notes, even with all of the whatever, it's not written for you. So to get from point A to point B, which is on the page, you can't just go from point A to point B. Otherwise, it's a totally boring ass story. And you've
exactly.
taken all of Robert Jordan out of it. You've taken all of the interesting out of it. You've taken all of the character out of it. And so definitely sort of the idea behind all of these things that were sort of added in by Harriet and Brandon and other entities and whatnot are all very appropriate, and I feel like they really do channel Robert very well, even though again it does sound like it's being said by someone else's voice.
I agree.
And so I couldn't agree more with your statement, if you will, of the spirit definitely still feels the same. The spirit of the story to me never left. Robert Jordan is the author of all 15 books.
Well, and
In the
there's even
even
entire
if someone else was holding or was tapping the typewriter, if
yeah.
you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's even uh, whole story arcs that were written and completed by Robert Jordan before he had passed. That Brandon
Mhm.
Sanderson was like, I got to build around this to make it flow in the story.
Exactly.
So there are a lot of places, and I think one of the testaments of Brandon Sanderson's talent is that it's very difficult to be able to pick those sections out. As you're reading,
Mhm.
you can't be like, okay, this is Brandon. We switched over to Robert Jordan. Oh,
Yeah.
now we're back to Brandon. You can't do
Yes.
that. And anybody who says they can is fucking lying.
Oh, absolutely. Unless it's Harriet, they're lying.
Unless it's anybody who says they can, with the exception of anyone close to Robert Jordan Camp, like Harriet Maria, those guys, those folk who are very intimately understanding of the material thereof. Yes, they could probably do it.
Yeah.
And
But
I
anyone
do like,
else, anybody who's just a fan, anybody
right.
who is excited by the books and has even read them all, even read them a number of times, I absolutely would say I would be hard pressed to believe you if you
So
said I can legitimately pick out the two different
yeah,
styles. Even though they're there, I don't feel like there is a clear break between them. It doesn't, again, feel like, oh, this is a Brandon storyline. Oh, this is a Robert storyline. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It definitely feels
right.
like, okay, this is all, you know, Wheel of Time storyline.
Yeah.
It's just now being said in a slightly different voice.
Well, and the cool thing is, so when you get into Brandon Sanderson as an author, and you start to say, "Hey, you know what what defines him as an author versus what defines Robert Jordan as an author?" You can read Brandon Sanderson's other books and see that kind of influence bleeding through and coming into Brandon Sanderson's writing style. Um, because Sanderson himself says that he started reading The Wheel of Time when he was like 15. Like he
Yeah.
picked it up off the shelf when he was a very young person. And it's one of the things that inspired him to become an author and kind of helped set him down the path that he chose to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just parting aside for a moment, what a mind job that is. You know, I
Right.
mean, hey, these books that I've been reading for half of my life and how influential they are to me and have molded my entire life. Oh, by the way, we want you to finish them. I'm sorry, what?
Yep. No, it would absolutely be like just, personal example if literally the next, like, if Tom Cruise died tomorrow and they came to me and were like, hey, do you want to play Ethan Hunt in the rest of the Mission Impossible movies? I'd be like, I, you, am I dead? Like, what is happening?
I imagine it's how J.J. Abrams felt when they said, "Hey, do you want to direct a Star Wars movie?"
Or a Star Trek movie? Yeah.
Or either one, yeah.
Either one. Yeah.
Hey, Andrew, I noticed you're here. How did the campaign against the filthy Shanchan go?
I'm glad you boys finally joined me, man. I've been holding down this fort for like almost an hour. It's about time you showed up. God,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We won't be late again. By John Mahale.
dude,
Yeah.
I'm such a fucking old man now. I get home from work and I better not lay down or I'm gonna pass out. Like I was wide awake. I got home. I was like, all right, I'll watch a YouTube video, then I'll get started on some editing stuff. And then suddenly it was dark and like 8:40, and I'm like, what the fuck?
All right. I'm just going to say this out loud. Um, Stop watching YouTube.
I don't think the YouTube is the problem. I think it's the laying down when I watch it.
Yeah, I was going to say mostly for your health, just mentally. YouTube is a cesspool of garbage. But also,
help.
you go ahead and if you fall asleep, I might have to come and kill you.
You know we're on YouTube, right?
What?
Yeah, that's what always puts me to sleep.
He's like the sultry sounds of the Black Tower podcast.
See, notice though, we're on YouTube as a podcast because the vast majority of
For
our
now.
YouTube videos are just static image podcast laced over it.
For now.
Black Tower podcast, the taint to sleep by.
That's going to be
I
our
like
new motto there. I like that.
Indeed.
Hey, if you fall asleep, you can't stop listening, so we get longer listen times for the metrics. So it works.
But yeah, so just to fill you in on what we're doing here, we are talking about the differences in writing styles, and I guess I said that we probably weren't going to get into a lot of specific examples, but it actually is kind of a situation where the difference in characters is kind of a big part of the difference in writing.
So
So
this
we
is
might
what
actually get into some different character situations as well, as far as the difference between Brandon Sanderson and Robert Jordan from sort of the first 11 books to the last 4. Sorry, the last 3.
so it's BJ versus R. I mean, Jesus. BS versus RJ. Got it.
You just woke up, guys. Forgive.
It's Brandon Jordan and Robert Anderson now.
Yeah, Brandon Jordan. That's what you meant.
Yeah.
You
Jeez.
know what,
I mean,
Andrew? I'm
I
glad
don't
you're
have a lot.
here because I was having the same verbiage problems earlier. So the taint is strong today.
Oh, the thing is strong every day. Cleansed my ass. And I don't mean that in the punny way.
Anyway, as I was saying, you can kind of see Robert Jordan's influence on Brandon Sanderson in the Mistborn books, which, if you haven't read Mistborn, I mean, they're actually a really good series of books. The First Age, the first trilogy of Mistborn stories is really, really fantastic. And I think you can get a good feel for Robert Jordan's sense of foreshadowing
Yes.
and sort of his ability for prophecy not being what people think it is. And you can see that very heavily in Mistborn, almost almost identical to the way it's written in the Wheel of Time. But I don't want you to think I'm saying that Brandon Sanderson's work is derivative by any means.
Sure.
But I'm saying you can tell that, Robert Jordan's masterful use of foreshadowing and prophecy and letting those things play out influences Sanderson when he's writing his books. And I think it's really cool to see. It's almost like listening to a band that says, "Oh, our influences were blah 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 blah," and you can hear that influence within the music stylings, and I love it.
Yes. I would agree with that, because again, I also, having read the Mistborn series, I would say that again, it is such a strong inspiration in the first book, as to almost be uh like a rip. And that was one thing that I absolutely felt when I read it, was that, like, again, Brandon had done some writing before Mistborn. I'm not saying that he didn't, but it was like his first big series, really.
Right.
So you feel like he was finding his feet as a famous author.
Yeah.
And he was like, I really need something that just like ties the room together. This rug, this one right here, the one that Robert Jordan made, I'm just going to put it in my story because it ties the whole story together.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, as he found his feet, I absolutely think that he then went to other rooms and made his own rugs. He made his own stories, all of that, even in just the later Mistborn series. Like, even just past book 1, I absolutely feel like he is only borrowing things in the loosest form of borrowing, based on the fact that there are no new ideas, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can literally just call back to inspirations from anything just because there are so many works.
Yes.
But at the same time, all of it is different. All of it is new. All of it is Brandon Sanderson telling a story that may or may not have similarities to other older ones, because that's just how writing works.
Well, and I think it was The Way of Kings. I want to say it was The Way of Kings that Brandon Sanderson was writing while he was working on the Wheel of Time as well. And he said that one of the biggest intimidations that he had was that Robert Jordan did such a great job of writing from the perspective, from the point of view. And
Mhm.
Brandon was like, I just didn't have that skill. So I had to learn very quickly how to do that. And once he
Mhm.
was done doing that, he went back and looked at his book that he was working on and went, wow, this is kind of crap. I kind of need to rewrite this. And he kind of started, I think it was The Way of Kings.
It was. You are correct.
And he went back and kind of rewrote it
Yeah.
from the ground up. And Way of Kings is one I have not yet read, but is one of his more famous works as well.
Yes. Well, and again, I think that it comes down a lot to if you're not the best writer in a room, go to a different room. And so I think that Brandon Sanderson was starting to become one of the best writers in the room he was in. And then he moved to a different room, started really studying Robert Jordan, not just reading him, not just
Right.
enjoying him, but studying Robert Jordan, and went, oh, fuck. This is teaching me so much more. If nothing else, it's just giving me a new perspective, another POV, for going ahead and how to write, and a different writing style than I've ever really used. But also, I think that he actually just started studying a writer who was better than him, and it made him a better writer to the point where I would now say that he is on par, if not, and I know this is going to be incredibly sacrilegious, possibly better than Jordan.
Ooh.
That's a bold statement, Cotton. Let's see if it works out.
Yeah, that is a bold statement.
I mean, I don't know. Like you guys know, I really haven't read any of Brandon Sanderson's work outside of the last 3 books of Wheel of Time.
Mhm.
I mean, for creator's sake, it's taken me the better part of a month to get almost all the way through the last battle as things are right now on the
Right.
reread.
Oh, it's almost like he'll be able to read New Spring soon.
Yeah, yeah. It's about pretty much time to go ahead and place the order. I'll probably order it at the end of next week because the end of the
Nice.
month paychecks get eaten up very fast.
They
Fucking
do
Bill.
indeed.
Fucking Bill, that bastard. But from what I've been told, I mean, is that they had, at least in the, when you're looking at the Gathering the Gathering Storm, that you can really see apparently Jordan and Sanderson's different writing styles. That apparently Jordan is far more like of a more descriptive sided author, like something akin to Tolkien. It almost takes on a sort of historical tone or aspect to his writing, whereas Sanderson really shines when it comes to more actiony scenes, more adrenaline pumping style stuff. I mean, and everybody knows that, like, most people can't stand Matt uh, in the third to last book, but very quickly by the next book, it seems like in between the fandom and stuff, Brandon really is able to get closer and closer to Matt and capture Matt. And I know he talks about that was one of the biggest struggles he had, was writing Matt, but he's also so in depth and integrated with the fans of his writing and fans of the Wheel of Time. I mean, how many, I don't know how many authors you see of this scale that have like a dedicated account on Reddit and will pop in and answer things on
Yeah.
Reddit and all this other stuff like Brandon does. I mean, I know when I saw that, that's one of the things that blew me away. I mean, because I've read a bunch of different series, you know, from authors big and small, and I've never seen them outside of, you know, interviews with like newspapers or news sites or whatever, really responding to anything, you know, and only responding to fans at like book signings or, you know, events or conventions or something. But when you start looking at, you know, the Wheel of Time or any of Sanderson's works and you wind up on Reddit or, you know, it seems like a couple sites, there's either quotes from what he said on Reddit or um like I'm looking at one right now that's literally Sanderson writing a comment in the thread about his writing in the Wheel of Time. That
Mhm.
doesn't really say that much. I mean, most of the post is him saying that he generally tries to stay out of discussions like that. But one of the things he says right here, he says, besides seeing what everyone has to say gives me insight about my style that I cannot gain on my own. The less tainted by me those insights are, the more valuable they will be.
Taint.
So I mean,
See what you did there, Brandon.
yeah, I mean, I have a lot of love for Brandon. I mean, he finished the series. I mean, it's kind of one of those things like, how can you not have a lot of love for Brandon? At least when it comes to finishing out the series. I mean, that's a task that I don't think any writer wanted. I don't think he really wanted to have to deal with finishing a series that's already grown to be epic, and the risk of completely fucking it up.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that he. So this is one of the things that Brandon Sanderson makes him a good writer, and you touched on that when it. Well, there are numerous things that make him a good writer, but as far as his ability to be a skilled author, he's dedicated to producing a superior product, and he will do whatever is necessary in order to make sure he can create a product that the fans are happy with. And as a matter of fact, there was one point that he wanted beta readers. He wanted to be able to bring beta readers in to read his editions, and a lot of those people were like, "Hey, no, Robert Jordan didn't do beta readers. We don't do beta readers. We haven't done that. We write the story as is and we publish it." And Brandon was like, I can't do this justice without beta readers.
Well,
And he
and I
kind of
also
took a firm
sorry,
stance
go
and
ahead.
put his. I was just going to say he kind of took a firm stance and put his foot down. I was like, no, really, if you want me to do a good job with this, I need that. And then of course we've got Matt from the Dusty Wheel, and we've got other people out there who were beta readers of this and got to sample his givings prior to and say, okay, you did a really great job, but maybe you need to tweak this and maybe you need to do that over here. And I just think that it shows Brandon Sanderson's dedication and love for his craft and for his fans, and I really like that.
And I was actually about to say the two things that I was thinking of both before and during what you were talking about is, number one, I do not. Brandon Sanderson is not my favorite author in the entire world. I do give him a lot of credit because I think he did a really good job, but he's not my favorite author in the entire world. But one of the things that he does well, I think, is the combination of listening to the fans and also knowing when they're just being stupid and or demanding. And so I think that a lot of really what he did later on in the books was, okay, cool, I'm going to write this book the way I think Robert Jordan would write it. Did I do a good job of doing that? And some people were like, nope, you're never going to be Robert. Fuck all of this. This is trash. That's trash. Throw this out. Throw this out. And he was like, all right, cool. I'm hearing you. And those people who are actually being civil and those people who are actually bringing up good logical arguments for why this is something Robert would do and this isn't something Robert would do and whatnot, I'm going to listen to those things. But in the end, I'm not just going to give the book the fans want, because that's not ever a good thing. The fans are never all on one side. They're never all wanting the same thing, blah, blah, blah. If you end up caving to one set of fans, you're going to lose a whole nother set and things like that. And so I think that Brandon did a really good job of, okay, I hear you. I take your feedback. Now I'm going to sift through that and figure out what is actually the right thing to do based on what I didn't know the fans wanted and also what I know is Robert. And the other thing is that I love the idea of like, hey, can I have some beta readers? And they were like, no, we've never done that before. We didn't do that for any of the last books and whatnot. And Brandon was like, Yeah. Also, have you ever had a situation where the author died and someone else was coming in and writing their story? No. Then maybe we should change the way we do some shit.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
anyway,
Exactly.
As far as I can tell, he did a fantastic job. I mean,
yes. As I said, I don't think that everything he did was perfect. I definitely don't. But at the same time, I think that
Well,
given the Herculean task of what he was asked to do, I think that he definitely got at least, a solid double, if not an actual home run on this, as far as
so
finishing up the series, even if not everything about it was perfect.
so let me ask you guys this then. What criticisms do you have? What do you not like in Brandon Sanderson Wheel of Time that you feel like could have been done better?
It's a good question. I think for me, it really comes down to one of the things that Andrew just said. It's a really nice sort of description of. Again, it feels like the spirit's there. It definitely feels like Robert is still there, sort of in Brandon Sanderson's ear, whispering things like that. I think that he does have a really good sense of how Robert Jordan wrote, uh,
Right.
but there is that like sort of missing description. There is that sort of missing, you know, the length to which Robert Jordan would go to explain certain events, to explain certain histories, to explain certain things. Um, and Brandon, I think, actually, to give him credit where credit is due, does actually do a little bit better with the action sequences. But I think what's lost in the world building uh, is more than what's gained in the action sequences, if that makes sense.
So are you saying that Jordan is more verbose in his, I don't know, I guess sort of for lack of a better term, his filler text, his she wore a yellow dress with
No, no.
embroidered.
That's not actually what I'm saying. Because, like,
Okay.
well, I don't not appreciate that. I will say that that was actually one of the super minor problems that I've always had with Jordan as a writer. Is that, like, again, it's not a problem, but it's super unnecessary. If that makes like it's. I'm not sitting there reading it being like this frustrates me, but I'm also sitting there being like this doesn't add anything to me. Not for all of it. Some of it is actually, really nice. But what I'm talking about is more that, like, I want to know the physics of this thing. Jordan does a better job of explaining to me, someone who is definitely a take it apart to figure out how it works person.
hope so, since
He
you
he does
studied
a better
physics.
job of explaining that than the inner workings of things to me, as someone who's interested in that than Brandon does. I think that somebody in our chat said, um, you know, Brandon is willing to snip off pointless plot threads like a
Right.
boss.
Right.
And while I do think that some of those were a really good thing, I think that there were some of them along the way, and some, world building things as far as histories of nations, as far as what are the physics of this thing that Brandon just kind of glosses over
I
and
think that's
doesn't
where we
actually
get
give you a full, like, satisfying conclusion to that particular piece. Not to anything super important. I think that he does have a relatively good sense of what are, like, the most necessary things, but there are plenty of things that I think Robert Jordan would have focused on that he didn't, if that makes sense.
well, I think and go ahead. Oh, I thought someone else was trying to talk.
No, not I.
um I feel like that's where we get the different spices, right? That's where we get the
Yes.
different flavors. Um, Brandon Sanderson's experience, his ability as an author, just his different his the fact that he's Brandon Sanderson and not Robert Jordan. I mean, that ultimately that dictates um, that we're going to get a product that is not identical, right? We're not going to get the same thing that we would have got if Robert Jordan had finished it, because they're two different people, which means Brandon's going to focus on, you know, this and this and this, whereas Robert Jordan may not have felt the need to focus on those particular subjects or go as in depth with those particular themes. Um, and I feel like we've got the benefit of, all this buildup, all this buildup, all this buildup, and then the Gathering Storm comes, and it's the end of the buildup, and the Gathering Storm is now the end of the book. It's the end of the story. This is it. This is the end of the story. This is where everything starts turning. This is where everything stops changing. And this is where people stop talking about Tarman Gaiden like it's far off, and they start talking about Tarman Gaiden like it's tomorrow and we need to start preparing. And you get that in Sanderson's writings, where people are more desperate than confident. And yeah, I guess that's my thing. I still don't understand the Matt hate. I don't. Um, I know people that have said that Sanderson changed some of the characters and the way they interact with the world. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I just finished The Gathering Storm on my reread today, and I'm loving it. I think that as far up until the point I'm at, the characters have been pretty true to what Robert Jordan would have wanted, or what he had envisioned for the end of the series.
I mean, let's keep in mind like everything that Brandon was doing while he was finishing the series, because like it was obviously his uh his work with Mistborn and publishing Mistborn that caught Harriet's attention to be like, hey, I really like Mistborn and what you did, and want you to finish my late husband's work. Um, but at the same time, so they publish. He finishes off in tour books and all that, and they publish The Gathering Storm October 27th of 2009. So someone, Brandon's going from his experience with Mistborn to The Wheel of Time
Right.
to finishing a book that's published and is immediately the number one slot on the New York Times bestseller for
Mm-hmm.
hardcover fiction. And then later in 2010, he posts, or I say post, he finishes and publishes The Way of Kings. So the Stormlight Archive gets started. And I think Wheel of Time had a lot to do with him starting the Stormlight Archive, because I mean that's a 10-book series that he's starting coming at the end of working on the last 3 books of a 15-book series. But
Right.
so Stormlight Archive starts, The Way of Kings comes out, and then just over a year later, Towers of Midnight comes out. Um, well, after The Gathering Storm, it comes out on November 2nd, 2010, and once again comes out as a number one bestseller. And then only a month later, on December 1st, the fourth Alcatraz novel, Alcatraz versus the Shattered Lens, comes out. And then October 2011, he finishes the ebook Infinity Blade Awakening, based off of the iOS video game. And then in November of 2011, he posts a sequel to the Mistborn trilogy, Mistborn, the Alloy of Law.
Right.
And then does two, I think, shorter stories. The science fiction novella Legion, and then Emperor's Soul. And then just a few months later, A Memory of Light gets published. So he's working on a lot of stuff at the same time, and he's getting it done. So I don't know. I think Wheel of Time did a lot for him in showing him what it's like to to publish books that are almost immediately, if not on release, number one bestsellers. And I think it did a lot for, making him realize just what he got into, what all it
Yes.
takes to get that far, all that work. I mean, because he has the aid of Robert Jordan's notes, who had, completely mapped out the rest of the series.
Right.
But it also takes and raises his confidence, because if these things still make it to number one after he's read it, I mean, the first one, Gathering Storm, making it to the number one bestseller, you could kind of see that happening, because it's like, okay, everybody's been waiting for it and nobody thought they were going to
Right.
get it, and everybody wants to see how it was.
Right.
But then Towers of Midnight does the relatively same thing. Well, no, it does exactly the same thing. It debuts as number one. So that's got to do a lot for his confidence in writing. Yeah, he's not writing his story. He's trying to finish someone else's story. But there's nothing to shake a stick at. It means that, hey, your writing style is still telling the story well enough to where fans are still all for it and all about it overall. Yeah, there's going to be things they don't like. But, I mean, that's just natural. That's what's going to happen whenever you're writing literally someone else's story and trying to do justice to them and their writing style as much as you can, which is intrinsically impossible to copy somebody's writing style.
Mm-hmm.
But he does such a good job that literally the second book that he writes, everybody knows he's writing this. They've looked at his stuff as they didn't already. They've read Mistborn. They've read his other works that are available. And they know he's writing this book, and it comes out, and the fans still love the series so much that it debuts as number one. So
Exactly. Well, and I like what you're saying there, because Gathering Storm, like you said, you can see that going to number one because it's the momentum, right? It's everybody already knows it's the Wheel of Time, and it's already got that foundational uh, brand trust, right? Everybody goes, it's Wheel of Time, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to go buy the book. And, it might even actually sell more because people want to say, hey, what's this new guy? What's this new guy going to do? I'm intrigued. I can't wait. I'm going to go buy it right now.
Well,
But
and of course, to be fair, you also have the at least a little bit of draw from Brandon Sanderson, who is now has his name on the book cover, that people are being like, "Oh, I read Mistborn. That's actually a much more a series where the first book came out much more recently. I read that one. Oh, Brandon's writing this other book. Wait,
right?
now I need to go back and read it and do whatever." And so I think that definitely the draw for that from Brandon Sanderson was a lot more than the sort of drop off of fans who were like, nah, if it ain't Robert, I ain't reading it.
Well, yeah. Well, and then you have, you had people like me who was like, who the heck is Brandon Sanderson? I have no idea who this guy is. And so I read The Gathering
you are
Storm.
already into Wheel of Time.
Yeah, exactly. And then I go, well, okay, so I read The Gathering Storm and I love it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wheel of Time is back on track. Something I never thought would happen. This is fantastic. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Now I've got 3 years between, based on the previous release schedule. And so I was like, well, while I'm waiting, at least now I've got a new author I can check out.
Right.
And I think it worked out pretty well.
Puts out a new book every month, so you
Right?
have plenty of material.
Accurate. Accurate. But yeah, I like the guts and the courage that Brandon had in picking up this series. Because, like I said, that's a daunting task of picking something up that you've loved since you were a teenager, and then making it your own, and making it a product that people would love. And I was going somewhere with that. I was going to make a point with that, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, well, you get to certain parts in the story where, like I said, you start asking questions about the ending of the books, and you go, wait a minute, what's going on with this? And sometimes Brandon will be like, oh, well, like with Hinderstep. oh, well, Harriet wanted me to put in something that was terrifying. So I thought of one of the most terrifying scenarios I could think of and wrote that into the story. That was all me. And you're going, ooh, you're a scary guy. And then, and this one's like a spoiler for like the last page, the pipe at the end. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. And everybody goes, whoa, wait, what the hell was that? And Brandon, you ask him that, and he just smirks and goes, that was what Robert Jordan wrote. I didn't touch that. That's all him. And you're just like, but we need answers, and we will never get them.
I love when that happens. Like people get super critical of a specific scene, and like Brandon Shusterbaum, like, yeah, I didn't touch that. That was 100% authentic Jordan. So, and then everybody like, you almost feel like, that awkward moment. Like, if you walk into a room and everybody looks all sad, and you're just like, trying to liven it up, and you're like, oh, what's going on? Everybody's so sad. Who died? And they're like, actually, so and so's mom died, and we just found out. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh.
So I actually had that happen once. I was in a meeting at work. It was my last job. It was a few years back now. And I get a call on my phone, and I look down, and I'm like, oh shoot. And it was my wife. And I hit the button that said, I'm in a meeting. I can't talk right now. I'll call you later. And then I get another call, and I'm like, oh my God, and it was like 4 or 5 text messages from her. Call me. I need you to call me. It's really important. And then I got a couple text messages from a couple other friends, and I come out and I call her back. I'm like, oh my God, who died? And, being annoyed. And she was like, our friend, his dad just died. And I was like, well, shit.
I'm a dick.
And I did. I felt pretty bad. And so I left work and we went home and we, anyway, but that was the last time I used that expression in an actual conversation.
I mean,
yeah, I don't think I will ever use that one, but definitely I've like walked out of stuff, and I always do the someone better have died kind of equivalent. Not the oh my God, he died, but it's the like, seriously, somebody had better have died. And then they're like, oh yeah, this person actually died, and then I'd be like, cool, then that was appropriate. I'm on my way.
Well,
mine's a lot more milder. Like the closest experience I had is I work with a guy that I don't know what condition it is, but the genetic condition, like, it cost the dude his teeth. Like, the guy has no teeth, and it's not something I think about or whatever. And we're sitting there talking about something, and I made the comment. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, every fucking meth addict with 5 or less teeth. And then he just chimes in. He was just like, 5 or less teeth. And at first I'm like, what? Then I finally remember. I'm like, oh, well, you know what I meant. And I was like, and I did say meth addicts with 5 or less. I didn't say anybody with 5 or less is a meth addict. And he's like, yeah, okay. I mean, it didn't like actually offend him or anything. It was pretty funny, but
I was about to say he's probably just giving you shit.
Yeah. The boss about choked us up on our lunch.
Love, like, that is such a that's such a tough thing to do.
Right?
Oh yeah.
God, I can't see anything. Oh man, I wonder what that's like.
I still say the best scene with her is like, we're so used to her being snarky and right and everything, and it's like, hey, now we need to take over flying the ship. Oh yeah, let the blind girl fly the giant airship. I was talking to Suki.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, for once, your indignation and snarky remarks were unfounded. For once.
Yep.
Yeah. It's great.
Yep.
It's perfect. And I love where you were going earlier, Andrew, with Brandon sitting back kind of being like, oh yeah, me too, bruh. And the thing I liked most about it, I think, was, he talks about when they brought him to Robert Jordan's estate and said, okay, can I, and I guess Harriet had offered him some food, oh, come on in. And he said, no, I need to know the ending. And they were like,
the sacred text.
And she was like, no. And he was like, now, I need to go now. And so she brought him into the study and gave him Robert Jordan's like his manuscript or his rough draft for the ending of the story. And Brandon Sanderson said he just sat right down and went right to work because he was so excited. He needed to know what happened. And I love that he is such a fanboy, just like anybody else. And that there are times where you ask him these questions about the story, about the different plot points, and he'll say, yeah, I know, but I only know because I had access to Robert Jordan's notes.
Yep.
Honestly, I hope it went down like he
And
did
I'm
all
not
that and was
telling
like,
you.
I hope he got there. He was like, all right, I got to get started right now. And then he read like 3 pages of the notes and then just sat there in stunned silence for a second, being like, fuck, how am I going to do this?
No, my favorite visual is again that's one of my favorite stories as well, Josh. So thank you for bringing it up. But I can just imagine like Harriet, this just super kind, a little older than middle-aged woman. When this happens, she's like, "Oh, do you want some food? Do you want some lemonade? Whatever." Because she's from the South.
Southern hospitality.
Southern hospitality. So she's like, "Oh, you want some food? You want some lemonade?" Before we dive in and we start talking about things, blah blah blah. and Brandon was like, "No, need notes." And she was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And then she like brings him in and he starts reading. And now I'm just like imagining like her with this like beaming expression at the door with like finger sandwiches and a glass of lemonade, just like bringing them over to him and being like, "Oh, he's like so wrapped up in these notes," and just like setting them down and like leaving again.
He pushes the lemonade away and demands whiskey immediately.
It's almost like when you're hanging out with your friends.
She's just like, "I thought you might say that." It just pours straight vodka into the lemonade.
Or like when you've got like you and your friends are having a sleepover and you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and mom comes in and, "Here you go, boys. I got some snacks for you." Like I can just see, Brandon sitting in like all in Robert Jordan's desk and working and Harriet just kind of coming in and putting some food down and walking out.
And also
that
had to have played at least once.
My other favorite headcanon is that happens, and then 6 hours later, she goes in to check on him again, and he's no longer sitting at Robert Jordan's desk. He is sitting on the floor, surrounded by like just reams of paper, just like rocking back and forth a little bit. And she's like, "Drink this. You'll feel better."
And just so everybody knows before anybody like comments or adds us or whatever, we know Brandon doesn't drink. We know.
Right.
Yeah.
We are aware. Much to our dismay of inviting him over for a drink, we are aware that he does not drink.
I'll bet he would still do the Taste the Taint challenge with us, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot sauce. I don't think there's anything against the Mormon religion when it comes to hot sauce. I don't know.
Not that I know of.
And you would know.
You're
surrounded by them.
I am surrounded on all sides. But no, I don't believe there's any hot sauce prohibition.
No. I'm sorry. In the Mormon church, you can't eat anything with flavor.
You can.
More Shoddy has now given me my new headcanon. Brandon Sanderson is Edward Elric.
There you go. Sitting on the floor, surrounded by all the books and everything like that.
Yeah, instead of the Philosopher's Stone, it's the notes. RJ's notes. The sacred text.
The sacred text.
So good.
It is so good. It was a good journey. My cabbages.
I don't know why every single time you guys have said the sacred texts, I know what you're talking about. I know the reference, but every single time you say it, I just get my cabbages.
My cabbages. That was, that's fair too, since we made an Avatar reference earlier.
Have you guys seen the fantastic, wonderful Avatar: The Last Airbender meme that is on one side, it's just the guy with his cart of cabbages. And then over it says how I thought 2020 was going to be, and then
Yeah.
the next one over is just Aang and the crew, and then just over it, it's just like COVID-19.
Yep.
The one I like more is like they started putting out the memes of Ellie from what is it, Last of Us 2. And they were like, name a character that's gone through more turmoil or more sadness or more bullshit than this one. I'll wait. And then it's just my cabbages.
Yep. That's
Like,
right.
yeah,
Oh,
because
fantastic.
I like the other one that also says like in over the course of the game, Ellie moves like 62 garbage cans, which is a subtle nod to the fact the game is trash.
Right. No, I remember distinctly when I found out about the transition and moving into the next phase, if you will, from Wheel of Time, from RJ Wheel of Time to BS Wheel of Time. And it was funny because I learned that Robert Jordan had passed like a year prior. And it was, oh God, I can't even remember how long of the distance it was, a distance in time between but I learned about his death, and I had known that because I was so sad because I had just found, I want to say Knife of Dreams had just come out, and I was reading that and I was excited about it. Hadn't just come out, I had just found it, and I had read it and I was like, oh my gosh, what luck. Crossroads of Twilight is going to be out in a few months. And so I got Crossroads of Twilight and I read that and I was in love with it. And then it was like, you get into the rhythm, right? You read the book and then you kind of like let it go for a year because you're not going to hear anything about it for a year. And then after I read Crossroads of Twilight, I was like, and cool, I don't have to think about the Wheel of Time for another year. And then I learned that RJ had died.
Other way around, by the way.
What do you mean?
Knife of Dreams is after Crossroads.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean.
But yes, your story is correct. I
know.
get you. I get you. But just to make sure that our fans also know that we know that you know that we know. Well, yeah, Crossroads of Twilight is before Knights of Dreams.
Yeah. Look at me, I'm Daniel. I know the order the books came out in.
It's funny because you're making fun of me for one of the most basic things that you should know about a book series. Who are the main characters and what order did they come out?
To be fair, half the time I have to look at the book order again. So
yeah.
Oh my god. I have never noticed that. How have I never noticed that?
What?
That Knife of Dreams is just COD?
I don't know. How did you never notice that?
How did I never notice that? Because now I'm just thinking like Knife of Duty, and there's just going to be a whole slew of games that are just Knife of Duty.
Duty.
Bet you really got to watch where you step in a game called Heroes Duty.
Heroes Duty.
All right, guys. Don't say anything else more about that. That's our movie quote of the week.
There it is. Movie quote. We haven't done a movie quote in a while.
So there's the movie quote.
What's the quote?
The quote is, wait, one more. I bet you gotta, or wait, no, that's later. Sorry. I bet you really gotta watch where you step in a game called Heroes Duty. That's the quote.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know that one?
Mm-mm. He doesn't. You can hear it in his voice.
It's a
It's a really good one.
You ever
it's a good really
sit down and like this may not be as true for you guys as it is for me, but think of all the movies you watched and then think of all the times you don't recognize or get a movie quote and people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you don't know that one. Like, how do you not know? hot ones? Like, I don't know, because I don't have a freaking photographic memory that memorizes every quote of every movie ever made that I've ever glanced at.
Well, and also the idea of like, how do you not know that one? And then you're like, I've never seen that movie. And then they're like, what? How have you never seen that movie? And you're like, bruh, we have different experiences. What the fuck? Like, leave me alone. Like, when it's a classic, sure, I kind of get the thing. But even then, it's like, go away. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway. But yeah, I think we've talked a good amount about
I was
sort of
about to say, this is we could
like-
sort of chew on the WoT candy again and get Andrew's take.
I think I know where the quote is from now, and I can't believe the movie that it's in, if I'm right, is as old as it is, because that feels like a year and a half ago.
Don't say that.
Yeah, the second one was more recent. You might be thinking.
Obviously,
I've only seen the first one.
I will come through the computer and take you out.
We're gonna make episode 2 before. I mean, it's all Star Wars, though.
I was about to say, I mean, Star Wars did it, so
Because in charge of scheduling, I was.
yes, that's right.
I don't know. I'm gonna just I'm gonna go on the offensive and start like posting random like snippets from different anime and seeing if like either of you guys get what it's from.
Oh, I will not. If it's not from Attack on Titan, Shokugeki no Soma, or
That's Food Wars, right?
yeah, or Full Metal Alchemist, I will probably not know what it's from.
Oh, so the one
Because
that I put in our live recording
three
text,
that I actually know.
the one I put in live recording text with the chick petting the watermelon. You don't know what that's from, do you?
Nope, no idea.
Probably a good thing, because if you did, it'd be a lot telling on the kinds of anime I have watched in my past.
And it's possible that if you posted one from like old school anime like Sailor Moon, I might know it, because I did watch a lot more anime when I was younger. But that also means that my memory of it is less good. So I still might not get it, because it might be a situation where I'm like, rings a bell, but I don't fucking know.
Well, what
Anyway.
are your guys' Brandon Sanderson transition stories? Where were you when you learned that Brandon Sanderson was taking over?
So I was at home on the internet. Actually, no, that's not true. My sister told me about it.
Why are you lying?
We just talked about my memory isn't the best thing in the world. How about you give me a little credit? I corrected myself. No, I'm pretty sure that my sister actually told me that Robert Jordan had passed away, because again, Wheel of Time is one of the things that we were into together, and so definitely the announcement, or like the news of it, I got through her, and probably I'm pretty sure it was like right around the time that it got reported. And so I was definitely like, oh god, and we had this conversation about the fact that the Wheel of Time could be over, and that we would never actually know the conclusion and whatnot. And so we were really worried about that for a while, because again, as you said, there was actually a little bit of I'm pretty sure, and I think that Harriet has said before, that Robert Jordan actually helped handpick Brandon, and so she and Robert Jordan and Brandon and the publishing company all knew that he was taking over before Robert passed away. But the fans didn't know that until significantly after. And so there was like a time in between, if I am not remembering completely incorrectly, that there was like this, we're really not sure if the books are going to continue, period, because Robert was gone, but they hadn't announced Brandon yet. And
Right.
so there was that like in between area where I was just like, fuck, we might just have 11 books of the Wheel of Time and never fucking know.
There it is.
And then when they announced it, that Brandon was taking over, as I said in chat, I was actually really excited because I read the Mistborn series pretty much right after it came out. I didn't get it like day one, but each of the three books I actually got pretty soon after they came out, and I really liked them. It was one of my more preferred fantasy series, and so when they said that Brandon Sanderson was taking over, I was like, oh shit. I'm very wary. I'm very, I'm certainly not standing here being like, yeah, he's going to do an amazing job, no equivocations. But I was also like, but of all of the people that this could go to, I'm down.
Nice.
What was the question again?
He
Hey,
was
look, okay.
focused a
I'm
lot
having
on
to fight
finding anime.
my Wheel of Time nerd brain with my Animu's brain right now because the live chat is all anime now.
It is. He's not wrong. The question was, where were you, or what were you doing? What is your memory of learning that Brandon Sanderson was taking over the series?
I went back down to my grandma's. The friend that was acting as a pseudo library for me for Wheel of Time handed me the Gathering Storm, and I saw that there was another big name on the front, and I looked at him and was like, "This is a different book series." And he's like, "No, no." And he's like, "Look, look here. It still has RJ's name on it." I'm like, "Okay, who is this fucking guy?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't know." And I'm like, I think that's apparent right now." And he was like, "Yeah, the author Robert Jordan, he died, he passed away." And I was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "So this is the guy that's just coming in to finish the book series?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "And he does a pretty good job. I like it." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I mean, it was very anticlimactic. Like when I was reading the series, like I think a big part of me just assumed that like it was a series that had been out and completed for a while, so I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't look for it. I didn't look online or anything for it, and I was young enough at the time that, um, as weird as it sounds, considering we now do a podcast on it, I didn't care enough. Like I was very much one of those like I read a book series or I read books because I wanted to read books, and I didn't really care if other people had read them and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
like you ever heard of a book called Punk's War?
Nope.
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't either.
that's generally the answer. It's a book all about a naval aviator and stuff he goes through and everything. It's not like an autobiography; it's a fantasy series. Or like everybody's heard of Dean Koontz and everybody loves the meme Dean Koontz, but he wrote what was the book? I think it's Fortunes of War. Is that it? Um, let me.
I know the name, but I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about him.
I'm trying to look.
Other than he's an author, which you already covered.
That may not be it. It may be. Or is that the name of a whole trilogy? What? No, that's not it. Um, don't just look up Fortunes of War because it's not the Balkan trilogy. Um, or is it Stephen Koontz? Yeah, it's by Stephen Koontz. Stephen Koontz,
As I said,
Fortune of War.
Last name means something to me, but other than that, couldn't tell you shit about him like his first name.
I mean, so like that's one of my favorite books that I've read of all time. But there's nothing like intrinsically amazing about it. Like if you compared the writing style of Fortunes of War by Stephen Koontz to any singular book written by like Robert Jordan or Brandon Sanderson, you'd be like, it's trash in comparison. I mean, I might have picked up the book as airport reading, to be honest with you. So,
Right.
but like I never cared too much about that kind of stuff. I didn't really. I read the book to read the book. I didn't think about the authors or the author's life or what was going on or any of that kind of stuff. So like at that point, I was sadly not that invested in the more meta aspects of the Wheel of Time as I am now. So it was like the author died, my, I don't know, probably 16, maybe 17-year-old brain was like, oh, yeah, people die. That happens, But I was holding the next book and I was like, my initial thoughts were, okay, well, he found out he was terminally ill and he started, co-writing the series with somebody else because, whatever reason. And I'd never looked more into it until I think I finished Memory of Light, because Memory of Light had been out for like almost 6 or 7 months before I even bought it on like Google Books and finally finished the series. So it's not really all that climactic. I mean, it's the origin, a story of somebody that just read books to read books, didn't really pay attention to the meta behind them or what was going on. Like I didn't even really realize how big the Wheel of Time online community was until like maybe 2 or 3 months before we started the podcast. So very, very anticlimactic.
Oh, so you were like
I was
you were like all
casual.
squished into like one whole experience.
Yeah, yeah. I basically found out everything was like focused and actually invested in everything all at like one time. It just happened.
Nice.
So I went from like, I knew that RJ had passed away and everything, and I was like, that's that. And I think I knew the generics that he was a South Carolina native out of Charleston and everything, and I was like, okay, that's cool. He wrote relatively near me, but that doesn't really impact me because it's not like the guy's ever going to meet me. I'm never going to meet him. I'm not going to just happen to run into him at a Walmart in Columbia.
Right. I mean, but you might have.
Until you do.
I mean,
it's more likely
you drive 2.5 hours to go to Walmart.
For me.
If you drive 2.5 hours just to go to a Walmart, then you have more throwaway money than I do.
The wheel weaves,
yes,
bro.
Robert Jordan absolutely had more throwaway money than you.
Also, that's the first time I've ever heard someone say throwaway money and Walmart in the same sentence.
Well, no,
you typically hear it around tax season, to be honest.
He's frugal, but also has throwaway money. How do you think he got all that throwaway money?
Well, I mean,
being frugal.
I mean, the answer is not shopping at Walmart because Walmart's actually horrible. But we'll save that political discussion for a different day when we're not talking about the Wheel of Time.
What's your favorite thing to do with money? I don't know. Keep it.
Wow, are you a 1%er?
Ouch.
Wow.
Pretty sure I wouldn't owe money on like half of my stuff if I was.
So
Daddy would have bought it for me.
I'm gonna stop here. Continue, Josh. You said so.
I was just gonna say, along the lines of being frugal, I knew a guy who owned a video chain. It was the video chain I was working at, Showtime Video. And he was like, hey, we're in town. I'm the owner. Let's go out to dinner. And so we're all thinking, oh, yeah, this guy's a millionaire. He was a millionaire. He was like super rich. And he's all inviting us out to dinner. So we're thinking we're going to go to someplace nice. He's going to take us to dinner. It's going to be great. Even worse.
Nah, bitch, you get dollar menu at McDonald's.
That's what we went to, McDonald's.
Seriously? Oh, my God.
You know what he ordered? I shit you not. He ordered a 49-cent hamburger and a cup of water. And we all went, well, no wonder he's a millionaire. He doesn't spend any of his damn money. If I saved every penny I made since I was 17, I'd be a millionaire too.
I wouldn't.
That makes one of us.
Yeah.
You're wrong. I would have a decent sized bank account, but
yeah, I'd have a solid 6 figures, but nowhere near $1 million. I wish I had $1 million.
The job I worked during summer. The job I worked during summers whenever I was first starting college, because I came back and I was the IT guy for a very small mom and pop shop. They made a lot of money because they did blind window blinds and everything for like very high profile customers in South Carolina, like South Carolina state senators, like not federal level, but state level, all that. Like I was able to go in some like fucking way too nice houses, the kind of houses where you walk in and you're like, yeah, I know I'm working, but should I take off my shoes and go take a shower and wash my clothes? Like those kind of houses, at least for me. And I was making like $850 a week, BS running their Facebook page and working on their website. I made more money at that job weekly than I make at my current job weekly.
Damn.
Yeah. So 17-year-old and 18, 19-year-old me had it fucking going, and I didn't realize how good it was because I blew the money on stupid shit.
Well, that's what 17, 18-year-old people do.
I don't like to think of it as I wasted money, as I was a young investor in the economy.
That's what, you know what, honestly, if you don't make dumb decisions and do stupid things, how can you ever learn from the inevitable mistakes and learn to make better decisions?
You just make better mistakes later.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like solar panels on a house. Good for the environment, not as good for the bank account.
True. Though again, now we're talking about now or later, because that could actually be so much better on your bank account later, but you have to have them for 10 years for it to actually be better.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm gonna wind up selling the house before I ever pay off the solar panels, which will be included in the closing costs, which is why the house I bought is now worth 21 grand more than it was whenever I bought it.
Nice.
So
I like it.
Good job, you.
Good job, you. You're you're wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
Well, do you guys have anything else to say about Brandon Sanderson versus Robert Jordan? I mean, it's not versus. It's not like they're fighting. But if they did get into a fight, I would say Brandon Sanderson would win.
Robert Jordan! Brandon!
Brandon Sanderson! Begin!
I wonder if there's going to be an ERB of like Robert Jordan versus like Tolkien or Martin or something like that, like once the series comes out.
I truly hope Epic Rap Battles of History does a Wheel of Time battle. At least one.
I mean, if the series is going to be half as popular as we think it is, there will be. Fire!
I agree.
Versus barreling. Begin. My titties are out.
Running with the spears, never caring about your cheers. That's right. I just dropped 2 bars on you.
That's free ERB. You can take those for
my skills end.
Fire bars, Josh.
Thank you. Well,
send me a copy of your mixtape. I'll be able to heat my house for months.
Or are they going to do like Dragon versus Dragon? It's going to be Rand versus like Smaug or something like that.
See, like that would be good. Randall Thor versus Smaug. Begin. And there has to be a line from Smaug about "You're not even a real dragon." Like, I don't know. That just has to happen.
I don't know. There'll probably be like a Wheel of Time versus like Game of Thrones one. And there'll be some alliteration to the joke. Like, at least in our series, the dragon survives.
You could do a Rand al'Thor versus Jaime Lannister.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
That's not even a contest. That's such garbage.
Jaime would get his ass kicked, like, firmly without any type of resistance. But
then again, how is that different from Game of Thrones?
I have no emotional investment in a guy that literally fucks his sister, so...
Yeah.
I mean...
I remember participating in it's like a superstar showdown kind of a thing, and at one point in time...
I was very worried about where you were going with that, Josh.
Nope, you shouldn't.
I remember this one time.
You should be worried about that. No,
it was like a guy who literally fucks his sister, and you were like, I remember this one time I participated in, and I was like, this is going to be terrible.
I'm going to have to edit this one out, and we're going to have to send NDAs out to the live listeners.
Sorry,
So-
continue. You participated
No,
in a superstar show-off.
It was like a superstar smash down thing. I can't even remember the website that was doing it, but they had an online poll of who would win, this person versus this person, this person versus this person. And someone had entered Rand and some of the Wheel of Time characters in it. And at one point in time, it was Rand versus Jaime Lannister. And the cool thing about it was they did this really cool thing where they would get the poll, and with the results of the poll, they would write like a fan fiction story about it, about how it went down, to try and make it make sense. And then they would move on to the next to the next match and stuff like that. And I remember the story about, and this is before the TV show Game of Thrones was even a thing. So the Game of Thrones books was all they were basing their particular battle off of versus Rand. It was actually a really cool little thing, and I wish I could remember the website, because those guys are probably still kicking, and they probably deserve some attention and some credit for that.
Nice.
But the whole point of that huge tangent was just to say that Rand and Jaime have faced off before in other universes.
Yep.
Oh boy.
But I think that does conclude our discussion today. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening, all of our live listeners, which was a surprisingly large number of people for today. I really appreciate that. Thank you for
Maybe
joining us.
Thursday.
I'm sure
is
all
the
of us.
day.
I was about to say, it's because we don't have to compete with the Dusty Wheel, who is clearly superior.
We are not worthy.
We're coming for your throne.
But yeah, no, thanks for joining us, all of those who are live. Thank you for joining us, all of those who are not live.
Hey!
And
I hope they're alive if they're listening. That's kind of weird if they're not.
That would be
no,
weird.
I'm
But hey,
thanking all
views
of
are
the
views.
people. No, I'm thanking all of the people who just finished listening to the episode on Friday, you dunce.
Whoa. There's some weird time travel shit going on right now that I'm not prepared to wrap my head around.
Oh my god, I'm in the middle of, or I'm near the beginning of season 6 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they are fucking with time so hard. It is ridiculous. Anyway, yay!
Time travel!
Thank you so much. We are the Black Tower Boys. If y'all want to talk to us, I will throw out there more shoddy, who just put in the chat. It is more fucky than Endgame's time travel. Endgame's time travel didn't make sense, and I put that in quotes because like they did do some effort to make it make sense, but it's all like makes sense to a certain extent. In Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's just the most paradoxical bullshit. It's hilarious. Anyway,
Nice.
Yay! Come talk to us. Come talk to us in our Discord, like these lovely people who are our live listeners, who, as you may have just noticed, we talk to during the episode. It's fun. We talk to them also outside of the episode. It's fun. Come see us. We have a good time. If you want to go ahead and talk to us not on Discord because you don't like the app, or you like a certain thing better, or don't want to engage quite as hard, that's also totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Come say hi on our Twitter. We are at Tower Podcast on Twitter. We are at Black Tower Pod on Instagram. If you want to send us something super directly, then shoot us a message on our email at blacktowerpod at gmail.com. We absolutely love all of that stuff. It's super fun. It's enjoyable. And if you really want to help out the show, Josh, what can they do on like our hosting sites or like wherever they get the podcast from?
Well, do you know, here's the thing with that. If you want to help out the show, there are a couple things you can do. Most of them are even free.
Damn.
Right? So, as you are probably aware, we have the show hosted on Podbean, and you can also listen on Google, on Apple, on Spotify, on all the major podcasting locations. And if you want to help out the show for free, you can leave us a good review and say, these guys are the coolest, and give us them 5 stars and all that goodness. You can subscribe to us on YouTube because we're on the
Just
YouTube.
FYI, just to make sure that everybody's actually clear. You don't have to give us a good review. Please just give us an honest review.
No, give us a good review.
No. Because if we actually ask you to give us a good review, we could be kicked off those sites.
Leave a
FYI.
review.
Yes, leave an honest review that reflects how you feel about the show.
Thank you for correcting me.
Feel about all of us. Please write an honest review, and if that happens to be good, fantastic.
And if you'd like to donate more than just your time and energy, we do have a Patreon where we are accepting your monetary donations.
Did we shout out our newest Patreon yet?
We have not. That just came in today, and so I was going to do it here at the end.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got a new Patreon today.
We have a new soldier.
Indeed.
Emily. I'm not going to say your last name because I don't know how much you want that out there, but
also
this is your shout out, Emily.
Emily,
I would easy to pronounce.
Yeah,
it's a cool last name, but those are the two reasons: personal information not getting doxxed, and also not wanting to fuck it up.
I'm going to err on the side of security for you not being spammed. But thank you so much for supporting us at any tier. And for those of you, like we've talked about, we have the live recording right now. This was the last publicly available free to access live recording, after which to access it, you're going to have to pay the absolutely astronomical fee of $1 USD a year or a month, not a year. Just 12 a year. $12 for just $12 a year or $1 a month. You can still access
$12 a year. You can support the gentlemen of the Black Tower. These Ashtaman live in horrible conditions.
I really misspoke, and
like being in North Carolina or having from here, but you can change that.
The
with less than $1
has driven them mad. They can find some comfort at the Black Tower. That was beautiful.
So yeah, not $1 a year, $1 a month, $12 a year. And thankfully, we are not an organized business where statements of currency exchange for services is legally binding. So I don't have to supplement people $11 a year because that's going to get very expensive very quickly and kind of counterintuitive to the point. But yeah, today was the last publicly available free live recording. After which we'll still do it on Discord. Our Patreons. If you include your Discord with your Patreon and you're already in our Discord, you'll automatically get the role. If not, and you get Discord later or whatever happens, let us know. And once you join the Discord, we can confirm that you are who you say you are, that kind of stuff, and we can make sure that you have the role so that you can enjoy live episodes.
It's true.
So
it's true. So that is one way to help out the show. That's a thing that helps us maintain hosting costs, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, and also do things like contests, which we did recently, and we were giving out some stuff from our Spreadshirt page.
Merch.
Which that stuff will be fully ordered to be sent out the day this episode releases. Of course, Friday, July 31st. Yeah, I had to wait for a paycheck because when the money that we had set aside for it, I completely forgot about the giveaway. I thought it was kind of like we had already handled it, and I donated it to a noteworthy cause called Cyber Smile. So don't worry, it's being rectified.
We're getting it.
It is being done tomorrow. Literally the second I get my paycheck, I'm working with Josh and we're getting everything ordered and sent out.
Everything out. So congratulations to Seleucia and to Malkiri Rob. You guys are getting your prizes. We promise.
We're
Indeed.
coming. We're coming.
We come.
Sword.
We come.
We come.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah, that's us. That's Black Tower in a nutshell. I mean, we're here. We did it. We did the thing. Now it's time to be done. Because guess what? I got rum that is calling my name.
Same.
Oh, I just
same name.
I didn't actually...
I'm so good. Your rum calls my name.
Yeah.
Wow.
What he said, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being so awesome. From all of us at the Black Tower, I have been rode hard and hung up wet.
Who are you? What? Did you legally have your name changed to Rode Hard, last name put up wet?
That's correct. Don't judge me.
So, okay, what did you legally have your name changed to?
I take naps and I have old man syndrome.
Nice. I like it. Well, I didn't actually have enough to spend on the fee, so I was going to change my name, but unfortunately it is still Daniel. And I am your Ammon Khan Mikhail.
I like it.
If I could have changed my name, I would have. But then I'd actually have to come up with something on the spot. And I wasn't.
I'll change it next time, He-Man.
Awesome. Well, from all of us here at the Black Tower, thank you again so much for joining us. We had a great time. I hope that you did as well. And to everyone, a wonderful and good morning to you. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Jerk! Robber! Oppenheimer! Fortune! I am inevitable, immeasurable, inexorable, monstrous, with bars weighing on you harder than your haunting guilty conscience. I am Thanos, and I crush tracks like tesseracts in my palm. You're a pencil-pushing Terran who never learned to love his bomb. Seems you started off a chemist, and on your world you were a prodigy. Well, that makes sense, cause your rhymes are only hot periodically. Man, I burned the Avengers down to embers, sent half your planet to be slaughtered, and now I'm Oppenheimer like I did to my daughter. Got a physical when I'm rapping, 6 infinity gems when I'm packing. Stick your tiny nuclear dick back into your pants, Dr. Manhattan. Hadron smashing all your atoms, best not collide with me when I'm rhyming, cause you break and bleed so easy. I think I'll call you Oppenheimer. It's impossible to Tommy, you just don't have the stone. Apparently the only thing you're good at wrecking is a home, cause you slept with your friend's wife right there in your friend's bed, then got another married girl pregnant. You should have gone for the head.
Listening to you took everything I have left. After your raps, I am become deaf. You need an Iron Man for that wrinkly ass skin and that butt chin. Here we go now. Where's your rhythm? I thought you had the time stone. Your punchlines sound like they came from Rhyme Zone. You might be something in the MCU, but between us, who's the worst MCU? Your dialogue's got too many breaks in the syllable. You talk so slow, Drax thinks you're invisible. I cause chain reactions when I'm lyrical, cause I've got that fissile material. You were born to Eternals, but came out looking so scary that your own mother tried to make you a temporary. Meanwhile, I've mastered the atom more than any man alive. Now I'm here to split you like 2 and 3 from 5. I'm a peaceful man, but I do what I must. You had an evil plan, Thanos, and it left you in the dust. It must leave you enraged when you compare our talents, because in this battle there is no balance.
For a communist pariah, you come off as awfully cocky, but I'll make you bend the knee in round two like Nagasaki. I'm the box office topper, the Marvel showstopper. Got my name on this win like it's the Thanos copter. You just got no answer for Fortnite's dopest dancer. I will low-key choke you out like my name was throat cancer.
You wanna talk about death? How about the one that looked at you and swiped left? I'm the destroyer of worlds. You got your nuts handed to you by a squirrel, girl. We're in the end game now, Tinky Winky. A physicist like Ant-Man, all up in your stinky. Anyone who believes that Thanos did nothing wrong crap has obviously never heard you rap. Oh, snap.